Look at your situation, look at who you are and how you live. And instead of looking at it through the bullshit bias of social media mental health and saying like, well, I shouldn't be doing that. Well, how long have you been doing that? Have you been doing that for like 10 years? Is that just like who you are? Then who the fuck is social media to tell you that like that's not okay for you to do? Maybe that's just part of how you live. I think I speak for a lot of people when I say that the idea of habits, 10 things you can do right now to change your life, how to stick to your habits, blah, blah, blah. The idea of that doesn't ring true to me. It always has sounded like a falsehood. Maybe it's just me. I assume there's people out there that can just, decide to do new habits and they stick to them and that's who they are now. That's not me. And that's also not a lot of people that I know. And I want to talk today about not only why habits don't work, but also what you can do in lieu of the idea of habits. And I believe there's something that you can do that actually does work. Let's get into it. So first of all, why don't habits work? Why don't they work? I have a real problem with the idea of habits in the first place because I think that 99% of people go out to try to accumulate new habits and then they can't stick to them and it doesn't work and then they feel like there's something wrong with them. And then there's a bunch of shit on social media to back that up and say, man, if you could only do these things, you'd have a better life. If you could only do these things, you'd be a better person. Too bad you can't. And then the person goes, man, what's wrong with me? There's nothing wrong with you. Habits, just the idea of habits as they are portrayed in modern social media don't make any sense. They don't make any sense. People are extremely dynamic. They're way more complicated, mostly because we are passing through this thing called time that never stops, and we are always changing, and things are always changing around us. So the target of who we want to be to better ourselves can change drastically due to unforeseen circumstances. And we're really good, our brains are really good at like talking us out of things that are good for us. So that's a natural enemy. But then also we do this thing where when we want to make a change, when we want to be better, we have to let our cup overfloweth with motivation. And so we start to put all this pressure on these habits that we'd like to build, really unnecessary pressure. And this is the pressure of change. A little tiny thing that should be simple. Your brain's against you, your energy levels are against you, social media makes you feel bad if you fail, and then you put all this unnecessary pressure of change on these habits. That's why I just don't buy it anymore. I don't buy the idea of like atomic habits or like, these little tiny things that you can, these 1% improvements that you can do throughout your day to change your life. I get that they would. I get that they actually would. I just don't think that any normal, sane person can just like fucking do that. I don't think that they can just like make the decision and then do it. Right? I think that on paper, that sounds like a great idea, but like so much mental health advice, this isn't on paper. This is the real world. These are real human beings, with brain fog and unnutritious food in the fridge and shit it's a problem, right? There's problems in your life. And so sometimes the ironclad willpower that you need to just stick to a habit and make it happen, it's not really there. You can even say that for a lot of people, it doesn't even really exist. So then are you done? Are you just out of the game? Are you just not going to be the kind of person that can build new habits? No, because there's a different way. There's a new way. There's a way that I do, and it works, and it always has worked. I think it always will work, especially for people that have had trouble building habits. But first, I want to talk about storytelling, just real quick. Storytelling works. People love movies. People love TV shows. It used to be far gone age that people loved books. And the thing about storytelling is that it can be at times formulaic, right? There's the 3-act structure. There's Act 1, Act 2, Act 3, right? Act 1 tends to be exposition. What is the premise of the story? There is the catalyst or an inciting incident, and then boom, we're off to the races. And then we hit Act 2. That's the majority of the story, which is stuff going right, stuff going wrong. There's a rising of stakes, and then all of a sudden, boom, we're in Act 3, which is the climax. And after the climax, after the tippity top of the highest, most pressure point of the story, it starts to fall off and resolve itself. Okay. So what about that? Number one, it resonates with all human beings since the dawn of civilization. So that's kind of interesting. There's a universality to the way that stories are told, that we get into it, we don't know anything, we let ourselves fall into immersion, we go through trials and tribulations, we get some type of fun and games reward out of it, we begin to empathize with our characters, we raise the stakes, there's a pressure that happens, there's a climax that feels like there's some type of catharsis, and then it falls off into this resolution that we need to feel good about the time that we just invested into everything. Okay, great. So that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna actually follow that formula of storytelling in how we pursue habits. And we're no longer gonna call them habits because that's a stupid buzzword that to me doesn't ring very true. We're gonna call them seasons. Just like a TV show. When you want to enter a new season of life, there's a couple of things that you're gonna have to remember. The first is that there's a pilot, there's the first action, there's that first episode, there's that first day that you gotta go do the damn thing, right? And it better be good, right? Otherwise, you're not gonna stick to the rest of the season, right? And then the season's gonna happen, and then there's gonna be a season finale, right? That climax. There's gonna be that thing where it's the ultimate amount of pressure, the ultimate amount of stakes raised, and it's gonna be the thing that is gonna be really the hardest for us to do, is to reach that season. Sometimes you just gotta grind it out to get to that season finale, right? And then after that, there's a falling off, right? And we reflect and we say, was that worth our time? That's how habits should be built. That's how people naturally live over time. They live in seasons, okay? 21 days. I've experimented a lot with this. Seems to be the perfect amount of time to get into something, try it, see if it's for me, adapt and adjust if needed, and then do the damn thing, commit to it, and then reflect and make a decision. Is this really, do I like it? Is it for me? No? Okay, let it go. All right. When I make the decision to enter a new season of life, I have to do it in the most extreme way. I have to overcommit myself to this thing, right? I have to, like, for instance, if I'm going to go on a new diet, like if I'm going to do like keto or something like that, I'm going to throw away all the bread and grains and carbs and cereal in my house. I'm not going to eat it. I'm not going to say, well, I'll start after I eat this. I'm just going to throw it away. I'm going to get rid of it, right? I have to start from an extreme place of change, right? So, and that's easy to do, and that feels good, and that's like 0 to 60, and that type of emotion behind this new season that you're gonna do can be extremely rewarding because you're seeing instant change, you're seeing instant action, and if you're the kind of person that needs that instant feedback loop, right? That's the thing to do. That's the thing to do. Don't half-ass it. Don't plan your start date. Just say, if I'm going to commit to this, I need to do it right now. I need to do it all the way. I need to do it extreme, right? And that is what I do. I start off with an extreme commitment, right? Because by doing that, I'm actually gaining extreme responsibility and extreme accountability. I've already got rid of the stuff. So not only am I eliminating temptations and setting up my environment to be a positive place for me to make this new season happen, right? But I've already committed with action. And there's something about that first step that you start to feel change, not just do change and see change. You start to feel change. And that's really important because in habits, seasons, we're talking about something that slowly over time ingrains itself into your life. And so by making such a drastic change in the beginning, it's like we're not working our way up to it. We did it, and now it's just something that we have to live with for a period of time, which is why the container of 21 days works. The container of 21 days works, especially when you start it with an extreme commitment, right? So if you're like, I'm going to start running, this might be going and getting running shoes or getting like an old-fashioned alarm clock that sits next to your bed or something like that, or setting up your phone across the room. So that way when your alarm goes off, you actually have to get your ass out of bed to go turn it off, right? These are you have to do some type of extreme commitment in the beginning that you're not working yourself up to. You just do it. The other thing I want to talk about is the fallback effect. And I think this is the thing that really messes people up when it comes to trying to gain new habits or enter a new season of life or whatever it might be. And the fallback effect is the thing where you tell yourself you're not good at a thing, you're not good at sticking to habits, you're not good at, you're inconsistent, you're too all over the place, this is never going to work. Then you say, okay, forget that. I'm going to actually try to commit to the new thing that I'm going to do. And then that doesn't work out so well. And then you go, I knew it. And you fall back way further than you were before, right? The greatest example of this is dieting. A lot of people want to make a change. They go on a diet. They cut stuff out. They do a good job for a little bit. And then when they quit the diet, they don't just go back to how they ate. They have to quit the diet with pizza and cake and ice cream. And they have to go all out because they have to fill that void that was missing during the diet, right? The fallback effect can really mess a lot of people up. And if you're the kind of person that knows that you need to make a change and you're consistently trying to envelop yourself with new habits and a new routine, and the fallback effect is getting to you, that's really dangerous because you can find yourself falling back and back and back and back and back and back until you're way further back than you were before you decided to ever make the change, right? So this is where the idea of like physical health and mental health are really intertwined when it comes to building new habits and building out a new season for your life. The other reason why I think habits fail, and I'm going to talk a little bit about why I think the seasons work and how it relates to storytelling and all of that. But first, this is also why I think a lot of mental health advice fails, is because people are so different. It's why I think the idea of diet and nutrition is fucking garbage. Like the gut microbiome and the way that people's stomachs have evolved through different parts of the world and different cultures, they're so different. There cannot be one blanket diet that just works for humans because humans are extremely different, genetically speaking, right? The idea that you can just do this diet, lose a bunch of weight, it's going to be healthy, it's going to put you back to a homeostasis. I don't think it's true. I think it's different. I think it's different for everybody. I think habits are that same way. Bro, not everybody can get up early in the morning and feel good. Sometimes it just feels shitty. And there's a lot of people out there who will tell you, oh, you can become a morning person. You can become a morning person. I kind of believe that for a lot of people. But at the end of the day, what season of life are you in? Are you in a season of life where you even can wake up earlier than you have to invest time at the gym? Or is it going to be a thing where you're going to have to do it after work? Some people work naturally in the beginning of the day, in the middle of the day, and at the end of the day. And there's all this neurochemistry happening, blah, 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 blah. I don't give a shit. I don't like over intellectualizing, like just how to like fucking feel good. So all of that stuff is nice, but as I like to call it, it is also mental masturbation. It's not real. Like it is real to the sense that like you can harness it and use it to your advantage. At the end of the day, though, just watching videos about it isn't going to help you, okay? So there's no point in understanding that your cortisol levels, when you wake up at this time and get sunlight in your eyes and then go do that, like you think you're biohacking, but you're like not really biohacking. Like it's just, it seems to me like it's a little bit fluff, okay? That being said, people have natural rhythms. Some people work better in the middle of the day, the end of the day, the beginning of the day. Some people feel really burnt out and might need a nap. Some people feel like they're completely jacked until like 7:30 and then they just got to crash. Look at your situation. Look at who you are and how you live. And instead of looking at it through the bullshit bias of social media mental health and saying like, well, I shouldn't be doing that. Well, how long have you been doing that? Have you been doing that for like 10 years? Is that just like who you are? Then who the fuck is social media to tell you that like that's not okay for you to do? Maybe that's just part of how you live. Maybe instead of trying to break that habit to do a new habit, you just say, I want to put myself into a new season of life. Maybe that thing isn't so bad for me. Maybe I'm going to adjust the thing I want to do to that, right? Maybe I'm going to start working out at, 11 p.m., right? Okay, so let's get back to the 21 days and the idea of storytelling. Okay, we have the Act 1, Act 2, Act 3. I'm sure you'll remember. So what is the 21 days and the season and the stuff that I'm talking about? How does it all relate to each other? Well, if you've noticed, 21 days is broken down into 3 weeks, right? You have 7 days and then 7 days and then 7 days. Let me check my math. Yeah, week 1, Act 1. Week 2, Act 2. Week 3, Act 3. Generally speaking, whenever I try to go into a new season of life and try something new and see myself differently, this is generally the tempo of how those 21 days work out. Week 1, I'm positive, I'm stoked, and however stoked I am and positive I feel is directly met with the same amount of negativity, and it sucks, right? Week 2, I feel good. I feel like I'm winning. I have the willpower. I'm making it happen. I'm doing the damn thing. I feel great. Week 3, I tell myself I'm different now. I'm going to stick with it forever. It's not going to be a problem. This is just who I am now. And then by the end of that week 3, I go, maybe this is kind of lame. Maybe this isn't what I want to do. Maybe I want to do something this adjacent. Here's a good example. I can't really go running. I can't really go do that. It would absolutely destroy my back, right? I know I've talked about this before, but apparently I have this baseball size arthritis thing in my spine, and it sucks. And so, I told myself I'm going to go running, or I even got a bike. We use the bike example. So I got a bike and I was like, I'm going to go biking, blah, 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 blah. Hunched over on a bike for 10 miles at a time, destroyed my back. And so did I just give up? Did I just quit? Do I feel bad that I invested the money to buy this bike, blah, 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 blah? Kind of. But when I needed to pivot into a new season, I didn't let the fallback effect get me. I said, I need to do something like this, but this adjacent that doesn't hurt my back. That's why I started swimming, right? I found out that swimming won't hurt your back. It's low resistance, you'll be fine. And so I started doing that, and I was like, oh shit, I can actually stick this out. But you have to remember that before doing that, right? I tried getting my 10K steps like a habit. I tried running. I tried riding a bike. I tried doing all these things to get healthy, and just none of them really fit me. And the first time I went to the gym to go swimming, I was like, this feels weird. I had my goggles and my little swim trunks, and I'm not a swimmer, right? And so I'm going in the pool, and I'm literally I'm in the pool like a fucking idiot because I don't know how to swim for exercise. And there's geriatric 80-year-old people, and they're like, my God, what is this guy doing? And you feel silly, you feel stupid, right? But I stuck with it, and I'm 5% better now. So sometimes you need to do a lot of experimenting to figure out kind of how something fits into your life and those natural rhythms and who you are to make it work, right? And that's why the general idea of general habits, waking up early, going to bed early, don't look at your phone 2 hours before you go to sleep, eat more fruits and vegetables. Yeah, that's all great on paper, dude. But if you could just do 5% of any one of those things and stick to it, that'd be huge. The idea of these seasons and trying something completely new and different every 21 days is to see what sticks. Where is the tiny accumulation of little tiny changes, right? You have to see what sticks by trying a lot of different things. You have to try a lot of different things by setting a time limit, just like a TV show does in a season, a pilot and a finale, right? And that is what you're doing over the course of 21 days. You're saying, I'm going to start this thing. I'm going to start it in an extreme way. I'm not going to talk to anybody about it. I'm just going to do it. First week, second week, third week. At the end of the third week, I'm going to examine it. I'm going to see what sticks. Maybe I have to do something this adjacent. Okay, cool. You get it. But let's talk about input-output triggers, which is really the secret sauce to making this sustainable for 21 days, period. Humans are emotional creatures. We can be hacked the same way that you can hack your eyeballs by getting photons and waking up early and looking at the sun. You can also hack your emotions. Whenever I begin a new season, I do a couple of things. Number one is I literally create a music playlist for that season. Something that it has a relatable vibe to whatever it is I'm going to try to do. If I'm going to try to get better at cooking, I'm going to put the soundtrack for that show Chef's Table on Netflix, and I'm going to listen to that. And that's going to keep me pumped and focused on trying to learn new recipes, blah, 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 blah. An extreme thing to start that off might be going and getting myself a new chef's knife with a new cutting board, right? It might be going to a kind of a local ingredients store that I'd never really been to before to get fresh local stuff, or going to Saturday markets and getting my produce there. But I'm going to make a playlist. I'm going to make a music playlist, right? The second thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get an audiobook. I'm going to get an audiobook related to the history of cooking. I'm going to immerse myself in that world of change. In this season, I want to be 24/7 this season. I'm not letting any outside bullshit affect kind of my headspace. I'm keeping my headspace extremely focused and separated from everything else. So if I'm listening to music, I'm listening to music that puts me in the mood to stick to my goal. If I'm listening to an audiobook, I'm listening to an audiobook that is related to my goal. If I'm watching TV, I am watching either movies about cooking or TV shows about cooking. I'm just focused. And that's why this 21-day season sprint, in my opinion, is awesome. Because a lot of people do that, right? What I'm saying doesn't sound probably foreign to a lot of people. They're like, yeah, I do that too. But here's the thing. When you do it, you tell yourself, this is what you do now. And you don't really put a container on it. You say, this is what I do now. And then when you start to slip, you start to get down on yourself and you fall back. And this doesn't do that, because you're literally saying at the end of this 21-day season, I'm going to assess. I'm going to say, but maybe at the end of that 21 days, the only thing that I really did was got a new knife, got a new cutting board, learned some stuff about the history of cooking and French cuisine, and learned how to make a couple recipes. That's fine. Do you understand the positive power of what you just did? You don't have to stick to any of it. The muscle that you just gained in your mind of, I'm going to start this thing, I'm going to go into it, I'm going to stick with it for this period of time, and nobody's going to tell me no, and I'm going to immerse myself into it. If you do that consistently, not like every 21 days, but if you do that 5, 6, 7 times a year, the amount of shit that you will learn, the amount of muscle you will gain in your mind to understand how to do that extreme shift into this new season. People biologically have a clock inside them. And once you've done this 21-day season habit thing enough times, you start to understand what 21 days feels like, right? And it's like going on a road trip and not really knowing where the gas stations are. You kind of have to, especially if it's like in a rural area, like you kind of have to fill up at every gas station you see because you don't really know what's ahead, right? But on the way back, after you travel that road a couple of times, you know exactly where to stop. You know exactly where you're going to get close to running out of gas. You know exactly where you should take a rest. And that's kind of what this 21-day thing over time does. It teaches you the mentality of the extreme shift that you need to have going into this new season. It tells you that the first week is going to suck, and then you're going to know exactly what's on the other side of that week, feeling really confident. And then the third week is great because there's a finish line. You don't have to just like stick to it forever and ever. You're just seeing what sticks. And it's the tiniest little things that stick. Anyway, going back to inputs and outputs, right? I will literally change my desktop wallpaper to be what I'm focused on. I try to control everything in my environment to focus me in on that goal. It will work because at the end of the day, you're actually not trying to form some lifelong habit and make some extreme change in your life. What you're trying to do is work the parts of the mind and body that get good at doing that. You're basically, this thing has a built-in fail safe into it, which is that it's going to end. You don't have to stick to it for 3 months, 6 months to a year. You can just stick to it for the 21 days. This can be very good mental health-wise. You're not letting that nasty little fallback effect make you feel bad for not sticking to habits. And you're not seeing yourself anymore as someone that can't build new habits or break your routine. You're building confidence. You're building what you need to make these new things that you're doing work for a short amount of time, and then you're consciously figuring out how to adapt them into your life. It's incredible. And here's the thing. I've done this so many times for so many different things. I actually love living my life this way because I get to try new things, learn new things. I don't let the pressure of change stop me. I'm actually getting ready at the beginning of December to try to learn Japanese. And I'm just going to do it from the beginning of December, 21 days, boom, New Year's, right? And I'm going to try to learn how to say something beyond Nihongo wakarimasen, which is I don't speak Japanese. So listen, I love you guys. I love talking to you. Leave me a comment down below. If you haven't, like and subscribe. Turn on that little notification bell, which I hate saying because it makes me sound like a corny fucking YouTuber, but it does help me. And it helps you too. So that way we can spend more time together. All right. Thank you guys. I'm Taylor. I'll talk to you later. Peace.